That's because their sensitive whiskers help with the sense of touch. Why don't we have a look?
Bye.
Thanks, Diego. Thanks, Ree. To introduce you to Murphy. How about a big welcome to Murphy, everyone? Hey, Murph. But what Ree's asking for is not unreasonable.
Welcome back to Toy School. Today I will go to the zoo, Taronga Zoo.
As I mentioned, if you were in the first 3 rows, it's what we call the splash zone, so just be aware of that.
The splash zone, there may be a chance we will get wet.
Women were known as great providers for their families. Hundreds of years ago, out here in Sydney Harbour, they'd be collecting seafood in canoes to provide for their families, which would connect them with some wonderful native marine life. And today we're going to introduce you to some of that marine life. So are you ready?
Yeah.
Alright, well let's meet the first of our seals, and we're going to do something really special. We're going to start off by demonstrating just how we train new behaviours, in fact natural behaviours, on cue to our seals. Isn't he gorgeous? How about a big welcome for Abel, everyone?
Yeah.
Do you swim at some of our lovely Sydney beaches, or you travel in Sydney Harbour? It's not unusual to see this species, a New Zealand fur seal, or more recently, long-nosed fur seal. Now, Abel was rescued from the wild, taken to our wildlife hospital, but then put under the care of our department supervisor, Ree. And Ree is out the front demonstrating what is known as thermoregulation, or what we call sailing. Now, you and I at some time today may perspire, and that's how we as humans cool down. Seals are covered in thick fur coats and sometimes blubber, but for them to cool down, what they do is put a hairless part of their body above the water and allows the heat to escape through there. Isn't it gorgeous? Already you can see the strong relationship that has been built between Abel and Ree, in fact all of our trainers and seals, which is important as you'll see in this afternoon's presentation. Now he is a fur seal. Fur seals have 2 layers of fur, an outer layer which protects a soft layer underneath, a second layer of fur which keeps him nice and warm. But in the summer months you may see seals doing this. Of course they can overheat even when they're in the water, so putting their flipper above the water allows the heat to escape through there, and it's believed that the blood vessels in their flipper can also catch a cool breeze, and when pumped to the rest of the seal's body can lower their core temperature. Now I said this is a great opportunity for us to demonstrate how we get these behaviours on cue. When Abel was initially in our care, a whistle was blown and a fish fed soon afterwards. He started to understand that the whistle meant something positive. And there we connect that with his behavioural training. So you heard Ree blow the whistle then. That tells Abel at precisely the right time that he's done the right thing, and he'll receive a reward for that. Now if we threw a fish at any time, we could confuse him because he could be rewarded for a behaviour that we don't want to see. So it's important for the trainers to be very precise in their communication. Now you may even see on Abel's left-hand side, he's got a little scar. Reese brought him out of the pool so you can have a look. Abel came to us as a youngster in 2019, found in Botany Bay here in Sydney, after an attack by a common yet not often seen animal called a cookie cutter shark. Cookie cutters grab a marine animal like a seal pup or a dolphin or a whale, twist itself and tear out a plump piece of flesh. That keeps them alive, but sometimes it leaves the other animal in a poor state of health. Now, veterinary staff in our wildlife hospital work hard to release these animals back again as quick as we can. It's not always possible. Abel wasn't a candidate for release because he was so young, and he lost his skills in hunting and socialising with the other seals, which is also really important. So I think he's done pretty well to start things off. What do you think? Thanks, Abel. As the name suggests, of course, they're found in New Zealand, but they're also an Australian native species too, which is a little confusing. But in Australia, they breed down the south coast of New South Wales, all the way down to Tasmania, and across the southern part of our country, over to southwest Aussie too. It's the seal most likely seen here around the Sydney region, and they're great travellers. In fact, over 10 years ago, some of our scientists put a tracker on a New Zealand fur seal, found that it swam from the south coast of New South Wales over to the South Island of NZ and back again in one season. But we only Well, we don't only have Australian species, we have other species of seals too, and we want you to meet a seal that represents one of the most recognised types of seals. His name's Diego. What about a big loud welcome for Diego? It's a pretty cool name, isn't it? Well, Diego was named after the city San Diego because there's a big population of Californian sea lions that live there. Now, Diego was born in a zoo in Europe, transferred to Taronga Zoo about 5 years ago, again put under the care of our trainers here at Taronga. And the first and most important behaviours that our seals learn are what Diego's demonstrating right now. This is called husbandry. It occurs right around the zoo each morning before the zoo opens. It's where we as keepers train the animals to cooperate in their daily health care. Getting the animal to open their mouth on cue or sit nice and still so that we can check Diego's eyes and his ears. Being very experienced, our trainers look for anything that's unusual or not quite right, or of course check his oral and dental health too, which is just what's occurring now. This can occur with our tigers, our sun bears and elephants, but with those animals, it's done behind protected contact. If you're ever lucky enough to see a seal in the wild, certainly don't get up as close as Ree is with Diego right now. A lot of work has to go into gaining the trust of the animal, just so that Diego understands that what Ree's asking for is not unreasonable. Animals are really good at hiding or masking injuries and illnesses, so it's up to us to locate them. Ree's giving Diego a reassuring scratch, but at the same time pressing Diego in certain parts of his body. If he was to flinch, that could indicate to us that there's something that we may need to look into. And if we find something unusual, we may need to prepare the animal for a procedure, like an ultrasound. Getting Diego in a position like this means that we can also practice ultrasounding or x-raying animals, and doing this with a shoebox with cords coming out of it means if the real procedure is necessary, we don't stress out or frighten the animals at all. It's part of the ongoing care of these absolutely precious animals. And of course, as a Californian sea lion, he's about 8 years of age. Everyone, that's Diego.
Bye.
Thanks, Diego. Thanks, Ree. They're pretty fast moving, aren't they? Well, Californian sea lions, normally found in the wild, are found in Vancouver in Canada, down the west coast of the USA to Baja, Mexico. We like to present them because they're the type of seal that lives the closest to humans, we believe. But unfortunately, sometimes that we as humans impact on their world, and often in a not so positive way. So let's see what actually occurs when a seal is in the wild, and to show us that, we're going to introduce you to our oldest seal at Taronga Zoo, born almost 18 years ago at SeaWorld on the Gold Coast. Now, he's got a big bump on the top of his head. That tells us that he's a mature male, and he's pretty mature, but sometimes he's also got a mind of his own. He likes to march to the beat of his own drum. So we have to wait till Diego's out of the way, because often our males do distract each other. But right now, I'd like to introduce you to Murphy. How about a big welcome to Murphy, everyone? Hey, Murph. Now, I think I've forgotten to bring out a net from out the back. Steph's got it? Oh, fantastic. Well, seals are such quick swimmers that they can actually catch their prey really quickly. Sometimes, however, they have been observed following fishing boats and trawlers, tearing off a piece of netting and then thrashing that piece of netting around. Means the seal, which is a very opportunistic hunter, very clever and curious, can shake free any fish that have been caught in that net. You can see what I mean so far, right? This does occur in the wild, and of course it's enough to frustrate the fishermen, but it's also enough to put the seal in great danger, because the seal has obviously turned that piece of netting into a piece of marine debris. Life for a seal in the wild isn't always easy, and human impact is often one of their biggest challenges. I think he's done pretty well so far. What do you think? You may have noticed just how good Murphy and our other seals are at catching fish that are thrown to them. That's because their sensitive whiskers help with the sense of touch. Why don't we have a look? count of 3, we want your help. We want you to yell whiskers and stare at Murphy's face. 1, 2, 3. Pretty cool, wasn't it? He folded his whiskers forward, but on the end of every whisker is a fine nerve ending. And in dark and murky water, or even in normal times, by folding their whiskers forward, they're so sensitive, seals can pick up the movement made by fish swimming close to them. Now Murphy's going to join Mel down the front of the pool, and together they're going to see if there's any fish in the pool. Any fish there, Murph? No. And sadly, that's the case for a lot of Murphy's wild cousins. You see, over the last couple of decades, overseas and right here in Australia, we've been overfishing our oceans, making it hard for a lot of wild marine creatures, just like seals, to find their food. But there's something that we can do to protect their food source. And when next looking for seafood, look for this symbol. That blue and white tick that Murphy just pointed to comes from the MSC, Marine Stewardship Council. Choosing MSC means that you protect fish stocks, jobs and the environment, keeping seals like Murphy a lot happier for a lot longer. That's a pretty happy face. And everyone, that's Murphy and Mel. Murphy came to Taronga Zoo just over 16 years ago, and he's been under Mel's care for all of that time. He's quite an impressive individual. You may have noticed that bump on the top of his head, which is called a sagittal crest. But the next seal that we're about to meet actually represents one of the rarest types of seals on Earth.